Imagine your entire flank collapses. Your allies are fleeing the battlefield in absolute panic. The enemy is surrounding you. Your king is about to be cut down. The battle is lost. It's over. Except it isn't. Because sometimes in war, what looks like a devastating defeat is actually the setup for one of the most spectacular comebacks in military history. On a scorching summer's day in 1410, two massive medieval armies clashed in a battle that would shatter one of Europe's most powerful military orders and change the balance of power in Eastern Europe forever. This is the story of the Battle of Grunwald, and trust me, you won't see the twist coming. It's the 15th of July, 1410. The location is near the village of Grunwald. In what's now northern Poland, two enormous armies are about to collide in what will become one of the largest battles of medieval Europe. On one side, you've got the Teutonic Order, those legendary crusading knights in their white cloaks marked with black crosses. They're led by their Grand Master Ulrich von Hundingen, a seasoned warrior commanding what many consider the most formidable military force in the region. These aren't just any soldiers. These are professional warriors who've spent their entire existence fighting in the name of God and conquest. Facing them is a combined force that nobody expected to see working together. The Kingdom of Poland, led by King Doble, Edizote, Sekan Jagi, has joined forces with the Grand Duchy of Lithuania under Grand Duke Vytautas the Great. This alliance alone is remarkable because these two powers had spent much of their history at each other's throats. But they've put aside their differences because they face a common enemy that threatens both their kingdoms. The Teutonic Order has been expanding aggressively, gobbling up territory. And it's time someone put a stop to it. Let's talk numbers, shall we? The Teutonic Order fields roughly 27,000 soldiers. That's a massive army by medieval standards. Absolutely enormous. And here's the thing about this force. It's quality over quantity. Ulrich has positioned his elite mounted knights on his left flank. These are crusaders from all over Europe. Germans, Austrians, French, veterans of countless conflicts, armed to the teeth with the best equipment money can buy. Behind them, he's stationed crossbowmen, infantry, and heavy cannons. These cannons are relatively new technology for the time, and having them on the battlefield is meant to intimidate as much as to inflict damage. On his right flank, Ulrich places lighter cavalry, less experienced but still capable, backed up by infantry. And where's the Grand Master himself? He's positioned at the rear with a sizable force of knights, overseeing everything from the Teutonic camp. It's a solid, professional military formation, the kind you'd expect from an order that's been waging war for generations. The Polish-Lithuanian alliance has brought roughly 39,000 soldiers to the field. That's a significant numerical advantage. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't a homogeneous army. It's a proper coalition force made up of vassals, allies, and mercenaries from all over. The Polish forces hold the left flank, primarily heavy knights with lighter cavalry and infantry in support. The Lithuanians take the right flank with their signature light cavalry, including some mercenary Tatar horsemen and Moldavian infantry. And in the center, Czech mercenary infantry. It's like a medieval United Nations, but with swords and lances. Now, whilst the Teutonic knights are standing out in the open, sweating buckets under the blazing July sun in their heavy armor, the Polish-Lithuanian forces have positioned themselves in a heavily forested area. Smart move, that they've got shade whilst their enemies are literally cooking in the summer heat. It's the little tactical advantages that can make all the difference, isn't it? The battle kicks off when the Teutonic cannons and skirmishers advance forward. The cannons fire off several shots towards the Polish-Lithuanian lines. There's smoke, there's noise, there's the psychological impact of watching these massive weapons discharge. But here's the thing, the cannons are out of range. The shots don't hit anything, they don't cause any damage. But they do achieve something important. They prompt the Lithuanians to advance. Duke Vytautas himself leads his forces forward, and you can almost hear Grand Master Ulrich thinking, perfect, just as planned. You see, Ulrich wants to lure the enemy to him. He wants them to attack his prepared positions, to exhaust themselves charging uphill or across open ground. It's classic medieval tactics. The Teutonic crossbowmen open fire on the advancing Lithuanian cavalry, bolts flying through the air. But before they can reload and fire a second volley, The Lithuanian horsemen are on them. The momentum is entirely with the Lithuanians as they smash into the Teutonic lines at full gallop. That initial charge is devastating. It disrupts the Teutonic formation, pushes them back. The first engagement goes to the Polish-Lithuanian alliance. The second line of Lithuanian cavalry surges forward, looking to capitalize on their numerical advantage. Some Czech mercenaries follow close behind. This should be the moment where superior numbers overwhelm the enemy, where the weight of the attack crushes the Teutonic line completely. But it doesn't happen. Despite having more soldiers, the Lithuanian cavalry starts to struggle. Why? Because they're facing heavier, more experienced Teutonic knights. These crusaders have been doing this for years. They know how to hold a line, how to fight in heavy armor, how to turn a chaotic melee into a grinding war of attrition. Soon, the Lithuanians aren't advancing anymore. They're being pushed back. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the battlefield, the Polish heavy cavalry begins their charge towards the Teutonic right flank and center. This is where the real weight of the Polish army makes itself felt. These are proper armored knights, the medieval equivalent of tanks. When they engage, the Teutonic reserve infantry charges forward from the rear to support their mounted comrades. The fighting is brutal, grinding, exhausting. Hours pass in a blur of blood and steel. And here's where things start to go wrong for the Polish-Lithuanian alliance. It's becoming painfully evident that the light Lithuanian soldiers simply aren't a match for the disciplined, heavily armored Teutonic knights. The Lithuanian morale begins to crack. You can see it spreading through the ranks. The hesitation, the backward glances, the faltering attacks. And then it happens. The Lithuanian flank breaks. They flee. A mass retreat develops as Lithuanian cavalry streams away from the battlefield. The Teutonic knights, sensing victory, give chase. They're doing what victorious medieval cavalry always does, pursuing the broken enemy to cut them down. With the Lithuanian flank having fled, Ulrich sees his opportunity. He redirects his forces to charge into the now exposed right side of the Polish left flank. The Polish forces are suddenly in serious trouble. Their allied flank has vanished, and the enemy is coming at them from a direction they weren't prepared to defend. This should be the moment where the entire Polish-Lithuanian army collapses. But the Czech commanders make a crucial decision. They don't panic. They don't flee. Instead, they halt their men, reorganize them quickly, and send them to cover the exposed flank. It's brilliant leadership under pressure, the kind that saves battles. But even with the Czechs plugging the gap, the situation is desperate. Ulrich notices that the Polish-Czech forces are now fully committed, stretched thin, trying to cover multiple threats. This is his moment. He gathers his personal guard along with every reserve he can find and prepares to attack the exposed rear of the Polish forces. This is the killing blow. If this works, the battle is over. Ulrich aims his cavalry towards his left wing, planning to outflank and envelop the Polish-Czech right. A portion of his personal guard breaks off and charges directly at King Władysław himself. If they can kill the king, the entire Polish army will collapse in seconds. The Teutonic knights now completely surround and engulf the Polish right wing. They're attacking from multiple directions. The Polish forces are being squeezed, compressed, slowly crushed by superior tactics and positioning. It's only a matter of time before this section of the army collapses, and once it does, the rest will follow like dominoes. Victory for the Teutonic Order seems inevitable. And then something appears on the horizon. A large mass of cavalry, riding hard towards the battlefield. At first, nobody can quite believe what they're seeing. It's the Lithuanian cavalry. The same forces that fled hours earlier. They've returned, and it looks like they've brought reinforcements with them. Whether this was always part of the plan, a feigned retreat to draw the Teutonic knights out of position, or whether the Lithuanians simply rallied after their initial panic and decided to return to the fight, historians still debate to this day. But here's what we know for certain. Their timing was absolutely perfect. The Teutonic knights, who moments ago were on the verge of total victory, suddenly find themselves in a nightmare scenario. All their forces are fully engaged and committed. They have no reserves. They're stretched out across the battlefield, and now a fresh force of cavalry is crashing into their left wing. The Lithuanians slam into Ulrich's forces with devastating effect, completely surrounding and enveloping their position. The Teutonic Knights, who'd been the hunters, suddenly become the hunt. In the chaos and confusion of this sudden reversal, Grandmaster Ulrich von Jungen himself is killed, the leader of the entire Teutonic Order, cut down in the melee. When word spreads through the Teutonic ranks that their Grandmaster has fallen, panic sets in. Medieval armies relied heavily on their commanders for coordination and morale. Lose your leader, and the entire force can disintegrate. That's exactly what happens. The Teutonic Knights begin to retreat. Then the retreat becomes a rout. The Polish-Lithuanian forces press their advantage, turning the Teutonic victory into a catastrophic defeat. No accurate casualty figures survive from the battle, but we know thousands perished on both sides, with the Teutonic Order suffering significantly heavier losses. Think about that for a moment. This isn't just a defeat for the Teutonic Knights. It's a disaster. The cream of their military power, including their Grand Master and countless veteran knights, lie dead on the field at Grunwald. After the battle, the Polish-Lithuanian leadership allows their exhausted soldiers to rest before moving on to besiege the capital city of the Teutonic Order. It's a massive fortress, one of the most impressive castles in medieval Europe, and its defenses prove strong enough to repel the assault. However, many other Teutonic towns and cities, seeing the writing on the wall, surrender without resistance. The Order's power has been shattered. A large portion of the Polish-Lithuanian army eventually returns home. Medieval armies couldn't stay mobilized indefinitely, which allows the Teutonic Order to retake some towns, but they're a shadow of their former strength. A few months later, they suffer another crushing defeat at the Battle of Grunwald, and eventually, the Peace of Thorn is negotiated, fundamentally altering the balance of power in Eastern Europe. The Battle of Grunwald represents one of those pivotal moments where history hinges on decisions and unexpected developments. The Teutonic Order, which had seemed unstoppable, never fully recovered from this defeat. The Polish-Lithuanian alliance, meanwhile, had proven that cooperation between former enemies could achieve what neither could alone, and that mysterious return of the Lithuanian cavalry, whether planned or spontaneous, remains one of the most dramatic reversals in medieval warfare. So, there you have it. A battle that began with one side fleeing in panic and ended with that same side delivering the decisive blow. From certain defeat to spectacular victory in a matter of hours. If this story of medieval warfare at its most dramatic grabbed your attention, smash that like button. Subscribe for more forgotten battles that changed history. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think the Lithuanian retreat was a brilliant tactical plan or just incredible luck? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, remember that, in war, nothing is over until it's truly over. And sometimes, the army that looks beaten is just setting up for the comeback of the century.